Welcome to the Career Jitsu podcast. We are so excited today. We have the opportunity to talk with Morgan Sheehan. Morgan is a purple belt in BJJ out of Team Link Northampton. It's really exciting for us to talk to somebody from Team Link Northampton because we are Team Link in Webster, and Team Link Northampton is one of our sister schools. So it's a first time for us to talk to somebody from a sister school of ours. She has been around for a long time doing jujitsu, and also has an very, very impressive resume. So she is like a literary fighter, meaning that she's a scholar. She graduated from the University of Iowa, got her master's degree at the University of Iowa, and is a professor at Smith College teaching creative writing. And she also is an ESL teacher at Holyoke Community College. So she has a wealth of experience in her career as a professor. And it's awesome to talk to somebody who is a professor on the mats because she has extensive experience also as a competitor. Something very, very impressive about Morgan is she medaled at the IBJJF World Championships. She finished with a bronze medal at the IBJJF World Championships. So anybody who is involved in jiu-jitsu understands how prestigious that is. So yes, we are excited to talk to you today, Morgan. Thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's completely our pleasure. Jason and I are so excited, and we know our listeners are going to get a lot of wisdom from you. This is great because there's really not, we feel, where there's not enough representation of women in the sport, and you are a cerebral and physical savage. And we're looking so forward to hearing about your journey. And we love that you got into jiu-jitsu a little bit later in life and you took a real chance. So we're going to talk about that, but we're going to start with your journey as a teacher. So how did you get into being a professor, being a teacher, and you also do English as a second language? Can you tell us a little bit about what got you into that, what you love about your work, and some of the challenges that you face in your work?
Yeah, sure. So I had tutored before in college, but the first teaching experience I had was in the Peace Corps. So I was in the Peace Corps, Georgia, the third group of folks to go there, and teaching in a village at a secondary school. And though the experience as a Peace Corps volunteer, I would argue my experience wasn't terribly positive. I loved the teaching aspect of it. So when I went to grad school, I, of course, had a teaching assistantship, but had that worked at this grad school was that I had two classes that were my own. I taught those, I graded those. I was vaguely supervised, but I was really the lead teacher. And that was probably my favorite thing about grad school. So I knew then that that's what I wanted to do.
So you started out by doing something good for the world. You caught that spark of interest. Then at grad school, you kind of reconfirmed that. And now you teach creative writing and ESL.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about in this journey, first of all, how did you find out about jiu-jitsu? What sparked your interest in it? And what made you show up at a gym the first time at, I think you were 39?
March from 39.
Okay, so you were almost 39. Tell us about that beginning. How did that happen?
Yeah. So I wanted to know for a story I was writing, I wanted to know what it was like to be in a fight. So I asked a friend who did some like open gym sparring, and he took me to one of those open gym sparrings and I watched. And that was really interesting, but it wasn't enough. So the first place I went was actually a Krav Maga place that closed, but they thought from the moment that I walked in the door that I was an assault survivor, and that's why I was there, because they couldn't imagine any other reason that I was there. And they didn't ask me, they just assumed. And I was so angry after that experience that it took me a couple more weeks to find something else. And the same friend that took me to the open sparring recommended the gym because he had driven past it. He hadn't been there. And pretty much the moment I walked in that gym, I was happy there. They were kind. Nobody looked at me and demoted me because I was a woman. I was just there to do what they were doing. It was an absolutely great experience.
So your first day on the mats, describe your feelings. Were you nervous? Was it weird to like have somebody put hands on you and start to grapple and put you in guard? And what was it like? What was that? Explain to us a little bit about that feeling that you had.
Oh, it was totally different from anything that I'd ever done. So I've never been in bad shape, but I think anybody who has started jujitsu, when you walk into the gym, you're not in jujitsu shape.
Mm-mm,
So at
no.
the beginning of warm-ups, I was like, "Oh, there's another hour of this. Okay, step it into gear." So that was pretty fun. And I think I was the only trial class that day, and our black belt, Professor Gary, just sort of assigned me to this other guy. So I wasn't going to learn what the rest of the class was learning because I was too new. So this enormous brown belt, Peter, took me aside. He taught me a couple of throws, and I was able to get, his 220 pounds on my back, which was so fun and exciting. And then he taught me a couple of chokes from mount. And the closeness was really uncomfortable, but because he wasn't uncomfortable, it really helped me. So sometimes when, I'm with a new person, maybe it's their first day or their first week, sometimes I'll say that out loud to them, like, look, you might be uncomfortable, but this is what we do every day. We'll get over it. It's okay.
Wow, Jason, so you've probably seen this happen at our gym. People come in, they don't know what to expect, and shows a little bit of the importance of matching up somebody with the right person who gets it. I'm sure that your experience plays in here.
Yeah, the control. I like the contrast that you talked about, Morgan, between you went first to like a Krav Maga school, I think you said, and then you went to a jujitsu school. And then when you walked into a Gary and Jaylene school, but first, let me say this: Gary and Jaylene are amazing. And so when you tell me that you walked into that school and you felt comfortable, I am not surprised at all.
Yeah.
So that is really important, having the right culture. And so I think you were very fortunate to walk into a situation where they had a great culture of people that are wanting to take care of each other, help each other grow and get better. And that is, that's a big part of why you were able to stick with it too, because, the beginning is good, but also the journey is important to keep experiencing that for a long period of time. You mentioned in our pre-interview when we were talking about physical free the you loved the most about jujitsu that you liked was that is the physical words you used was that you have physical freedom through controlled violence. And I
Yes.
heard that when you said that, I was like, that is great. I'm writing that quote down.
That is definitely poetic. Well, that's a creative writer right there.
Well, I think I said also that women in general tend not to be physical in the way that men can be, even, with each other. So, I have a son, and when he was younger, he and his friends would like wrestle and they'd hit each other. And that just wasn't an experience that I had as a kid. So getting to have that as an adult is so fun and freeing. And it really unleashes this new part of yourself where you get to attack and try to win. And the controlled violence, because you're not trying to hurt the other person, but the controlled violence is so much.
I mean, I think that's, and when we talked last in the pre-interview, you were saying that these are qualities that being assertive, right? Taking the first step. And these are qualities that are not always taught and inculcated in our culture to women. And that this helps you not only on the mats, but in your career, in the boardroom or as a leader to be a little bit more assertive, a little bit more aggressive when you need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to be able to say no. That's such a thing that so many people struggle with. I was thinking about sort of the physical journey part of it, and I was reminded of a moment where in Georgia, in the Peace Corps, this really big guy, he grabbed me, and he was so strong and he wouldn't let go. In the moment, I just froze. I didn't react physically. I didn't even shout. And that wouldn't happen now because, that's just not the way I've cultured myself to react to physical violence. And I think that's a really important thing for not just women, but men too, to have exposure to.
Yeah, keeping that
100%.
composure.
Sorry to cut you off. 100%. I think that's something that, Jason, we don't always talk about because we take it for granted. but the ability for somebody just to know that they can take care of themselves, especially somebody who's not a giant muscular person, to know that if somebody lays hands on them, like now, Morgan, you would know what to do
Right.
and you would feel confident in your ability. And you have tested your skills against strong people on the mats that are trying hard,
Yeah.
going hard, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that we take it as an obvious thing, right, Jason? But it's sometimes it needs to be mentioned again, that huge benefit of being able to take care of yourself in a dangerous situation.
Yeah, and having that confidence too, right? I mean, do you feel that since you started jujitsu in your classrooms, when you're a professor, do you feel more confident up there in front of everyone since you did jujitsu? Do you think you gained confidence through that?
It's such a different thing. Like, there's never a moment in the classroom where I feel physically threatened. And so much of teaching is like putting on a performance for the students, right? You're trying to create this space where they feel free to make mistakes and free to be themselves and really try. And I've never struggled with that. Like, I had that before jujitsu. So I wish I could say yes.
Hey, do they know that you practice jujitsu? Do you share that side of you with them?
I don't with the ESL students unless it comes up. And I do at Smith. I'm not a professor at Smith during the year. I teach creative writing to teenagers in their Smith young women summer writing program. So it's like 14 to 19-year-olds. And I do mention it. And I mention it for a couple of reasons. I want them to do some sort of research when they're writing about physical activities, because a lot of them are writing fantasy. So they have characters who are in sword fights or, fist fights. They're riding horses and they haven't done any of that. So they don't know how it feels. But I also say it because I want them to have the experience that I had. I want them to get to be aggressive and assertive and physical in a place that makes it fun and wonderful and not scary.
Kind of like the same environment you try to create for your writing. You want them to feel safe to take chances, safe to go for the Hail Mary pass,
Yep.
safe to fall on their butt and get up again. It's very similar in that respect, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's probably a lot of reiteration in writing, right? You have to constantly tweak things and reword things and switch sentences here and there, right? So it's similar to rolling on the mats, right? You have to make adaptations on the mat. You're rolling, and it's like, oh, that worked, but no, that doesn't, right? the,
Yeah,
learning
Jason,
through failure,
Anything
right?
like that.
I'm gonna actually steal. Jason and I were talking earlier before the interview, and we had a good question. This is really Jason's question, but I thought it's so good, I'm gonna steal it. Jason asked, like, we were wondering if you see parallels between essay writing, the techniques and process of essay writing, and refining your technique in jujitsu.
Yeah, so it depends what type of essay you're talking about, but I think it applies no matter what. So when I'm writing an essay um, that might go in a magazine, I want to pull the reader in. I want to get them comfortable, and I want them to be surprised on this journey that they come along with me. It depends who you're rolling with. But in a great role, it's this journey that you two go on together, and you're reacting to what they do. You're trying to surprise them. They surprise you. And it's this totally fun back and forth play that you get to do. It's just, it's physical and mental on the mats, and it's totally in your mind and on the page or on the computer in a piece of writing.
The art of language and the art of jujitsu, right?
Yeah.
Morgan, what's more intimidating to you? A room full of coming up in front of a room full of new college students staring at you, or a 20-year-old blue belt trying to choke you?
I can handle all our 20-year-old blue belts.
There you go. If you can handle that, that's easy for the classroom, right?
Yeah. So the first day of every class, like the first day of the semester, I won't sleep well the night before. I get so nervous. But then once we all introduce each other and things start, it's great again. It's just, you so want this experience to be what they need. For the ESL students, the stakes are so high, right? they need to be proficient in this language to be successful in their lives right now. Such high stakes. For the 20-year-old blue belt, I want him to have fun, but I also want him to know that he can't do what he wants. And then on the other side of that, I'm 46, don't want him to break my ribs.
Yes. And you haven't had any ribs broken.
No, I had a really terrible sternum problem, and still now, like, if I lift my arms up, I can hear it sort of click back and forth, but it doesn't hurt anymore, so that's great.
Damn. Was
It
that
just pops all. It just pops all the time, but it doesn't hurt.
Now,
so?
Okay. Sorry, Frank.
No, you
Just one
go.
more question. This is like a really, it's kind of a loaded question, I think. But, I was thinking of you because um, you started jujitsu a little bit later in life than some other people do. You said you were 39 years old when you started. So by the time you really started competing, you were already in your 40s, right?
I competed that first year at white belt at least
Okay.
twice.
Okay. But then you continued to compete into your 40s, right?
Yeah, though
Because
I
you competed
haven't
a lot.
competed in a while.
Yeah. So do you see that jujitsu, like, how did jujitsu change the way you see yourself as a woman, as an as a woman starting a woman training in their 40s? How do you see jujitsu has changed you as opposed to somebody who is 40 years old and as a woman has never experienced jujitsu before?
Well, I'm not worried about osteoporosis now. No, but when I'm at home, I'm somebody's mom. And there are all of these, there's a structure around that. I need to be responsible for somebody else. When I'm in the classroom, my goal there, my whole focus is to make sure that these students have a positive experience and that they learn absolutely as much as they can and they feel confidence in themselves. In the gym, I can just be me. I don't have those extra responsibilities. I don't have to make sure the person next to me learns, though it's good if I do. It's really freeing. You just get to be your essential self, and that's borne out, especially when you're rolling.
And then by being free to be yourself on the mats, that helped you in life, right? It helped you being a mom, helped you, being able to stay composed when you're a teacher. Has that translated over into your personal life too?
Yeah, I think it allows me to, I think whenever in your life you have a space that you've made for yourself where you get to be the essence of who you are, that you're happier overall. But I also think that you sort of look around and realize that if you understand the core of who you are as a person, these roles, these other roles don't define you. They're other parts of you, but they're not
Mm.
limiting any longer. I think that for me was a big change.
Jason, we've heard so many of our guests talk about jujitsu as their either escape or their therapy, and now we're hearing it referred to as a way to find the essence of who you are. And I think that's a very common experience that a lot of people have who practice jujitsu. It's their time, and it's their time that doesn't have to be pressure or productive, or you are problem solving, but it's a fun problem solving. It's an exciting and fun problem solving that makes everything else in your world disappear. And
Yeah.
that's all that you have in front of you. And I
And
think
by
we hear
having
that.
that too, Frank, right? By having that, Morgan, that a lot that freedom to be able to express yourself on the mats, I think that in your personal life you're able to feel more walk with more confidence, feel more freeing in the sense that your mindset's different, right? So you can take on challenges with a different mindset because you're so used to the challenges in the on the mats too, right? I mean, being a competitor, it's challenging, right?
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. And there's also just an understanding that I don't know how you are when we compete, but when I compete, I get really nervous and I really, really want to win. And when I don't win, I'm frustrated with myself. And I have to go
Mhm.
back through and, think about what I did wrong. But, no one died. It was a problem that felt big in the moment, but we got past it. And it makes the rest of the problems in my life at least seem, doable, tackleable.
Right. Helps you not sweat the small things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, stepping on the mats, just stepping on the competitive mats is just a different level. It's a different level, and you're not the only. Everybody I know who competes always says they have those those. Well, people who compete all the time for years, I think they're a little bit more calm, right?
Roughly.
But I am definitely not a nervous person. you know, I'm comfortable. I teach, when I competed and nobody cared. I'm an old man competing in an old man's bracket. There's hardly anybody my age there, but you do like all of a sudden you feel like a kid who's about to get up and give a presentation to your seventh grade class. And the person you like is in that class. That's how you felt, right? All that, like your heart's like, okay, I got to do this. I can't disappoint my coach. I can't disappoint my team. And your coach and your team are like, hey, just go out there and have fun.
Yeah.
But it's, and then you're right, everything else after that doesn't seem like it's a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Just again, easier to handle.
Comfortable and uncomfortable situations. So, a quick question for you. We know that there's probably a lot of women out there listening to you and probably inspired by your story. What would you say to them? Because a lot of women actually have said, women in my life have said, I would love to do jujitsu, but it's just weird. Somebody on top of you. It's just weird. It's just like, I don't know. I don't want somebody sweat on me. Not only women, men say this too, but I'm just saying we want to get more women involved in the sport. What would you say to a woman who might be around your age and thinking, oh, I'm not going to go there with a bunch of brutes and um, I don't want to get my arm broken and I don't want to put myself in that situation. What would you say to them?
Well, first, to be honest, I've had very little luck convincing my friends to come.
It's a hard thing, right?
It's a hard sell, and it's a hard sell for all the reasons that you listed and more. You know, a pretty significant percentage of women have been assaulted. And for some of those women, that closeness with someone that they don't know or don't trust yet, it's an insurmountable problem for them, or it can be in the moment. But and jujitsu isn't for everybody, but it is one of the most fun ways to, you know, let off some steam, get a little exercise, create community, meet new people. It ticks all of the boxes for me. And I don't understand knowing that why you wouldn't want to give it a try. It's a little sweaty and you're close to some people, but in 2 weeks, those are all going to be people that you like.
Mm.
Just why not give it a chance?
That's why not give it a chance is a great why not give it a chance, just a chance. And you are right. The whole like weirdness of being locked into somebody else's grips, that goes away. Like nobody even thinks about that. After 2 weeks, it's totally natural to just lock up with somebody and grab their arm. They grab you in a
Mhm.
headlock and, have somebody in your guard. It doesn't even feel weird or awkward or anything. In literally 2 weeks, you're just like, this is just what we do. So all of that awkwardness dissipates extremely quickly.
Yeah, a
I
lot
think
of women
this
who are
is a little bit less of an issue for women, though I'm sure it's an issue for some women. And I think some guys get weirded out when I mention it, but people don't always touch each other that much in society, especially if they live alone. And that's something that jujitsu does for us in a way that feels socially acceptable. So as a guy, you're probably not hugging a ton of guy friends. Women hug a little bit more. But that physical connection is essential for our mental health. And I think for a lot of guys in the gym, they're getting this great physical connection with other people that's totally safe. And it's one of the many, many things that is helping their mental health in jiu-jitsu.
yeah,
Definitely
absolutely.
mental health. And you mentioned in there, Morgan, you mentioned community, and we haven't really talked about that, but the community of people that it doesn't mean you have to buy your friends or anything. They just become naturally. I feel that jujitsu is a filter because people with giant egos can't survive. Even if they're great, even great people with giant egos, they end up leaving. And you end up getting people who are humble and kind mostly and share and cerebral people too, because it's a thinking person's sport. You have to think a lot, right? So jujitsu kind of filters out, and whoever's in it in most jujitsu gyms are really good, kind, decent people. And you make a lot of connections with these people. And I'm sure you found that. So I'll let you speak to that.
I would also say that in the best way possible, a lot of the folks in the gym aren't people who I would be regularly interacting with in the rest of my life. And so I'm interacting with people in a slightly wider variety, a wider group of
Mm,
folks. And any of those previous assumptions that I might have had about them, I get to let go. And, we're
Yeah.
all here for this common goal. For the most part, we're not talking about politics. We're really just focusing on the sport I do love that one of the things that happens in the gym, like I'm a morning class person, so all of the morning class people know each other. And if you're not there one of those mornings, they're going to check in with you. Like, are you okay? Did you get sick? Did something happen? And it really makes, I think, all of us feel like we're noticed and cared for.
Yeah, like a sense of belonging, you know?
Yeah.
And the other nice thing is anywhere you travel, you kind of have a little family wherever you go. People take care of you. Oh, you're new in town? Let us show you around, right?
You speak the same language, the
Yeah.
language of jiu-jitsu.
You speak the same language, you share the same culture.
Yeah. And that, speaking of that, so like with language, do you see a connection with that in terms of, like, you say that the one thing you love about jujitsu is that freedom of expression. Do you feel like jujitsu helps with people, not just yourself, but anybody, like maybe a college student that's in creative writing, for example? Do you think that if that person trains jujitsu, having that freedom of expression in jujitsu, does that help them in writing? Do you think that they can express themselves better? Like just kind of being more free to express themselves in writing too?
So the real answer is I think that if you are adding some kind of physical activity in your life, I think you're going to think more clearly in general. I think there's a pretty clear scientific connection between that. But on the other side of it, you are going to make mistakes in jujitsu no matter what you do. And you have to get comfortable with that. And I think that willingness to make mistakes, the understanding that you're not going to be perfect, that lets you be braver in any of your other pursuits. And if you're not brave in writing, you're writing boring stuff. So you have to take those risks in order to be interesting.
I love that you said that. I often teach my students, I always say, if you're not falling off the bicycle and getting some scars and cuts, you're just not pedaling fast enough.
Yeah.
You're not having any adventure. You got to fall off the bicycle sometimes. And we do fall off the bicycle a lot. I know I do a ton in jujitsu, right? It
And
makes you fall off the bicycle.
yeah, persistency, right? So as a writer, you have to be persistent, right?
And diligent. Like a lot of folks call it, butt in the chair. You have to be there and be writing to be a writer. You can't just have ideas. You can't just start. You have to
Gotta
keep
keep
going.
showing up, right?
And that's how
Same
you
thing
get
with,
better at jujitsu. I mean, like some people come in with great natural talent, but if you are there 3 days a week or 4 days a week, that's how you get better.
yeah,
Wisdom right there.
absolutely. Yeah.
I have a ton of takeaways here. So if you have any last questions, you can do that. I have a lot of starred things in my notes here, lots of great notes.
One more question, Morgan. I was thinking about earlier, I'm sorry, but I thought about, have you ever written a jujitsu article? Have you ever written about jujitsu?
I got one published, I think it was last year, and it was about that first entry, the sort of failed entry into a physical sport with Krav Maga, and then finding my gym. And I just wrote another one and sent it out. We'll see.
Can you send us the link and we'll put it in this episode? The links to both of those?
Yeah, I think I can.
Yeah,
If
if you
you
have
want to, that's
anything,
Can I make a plug to women?
yes.
of course.
So there are lots of jujitsu gyms where there just aren't that many women there. But if you're in Western Mass, close to Northampton, I think it's over 40% of our gym is women. So if you want to
Wow.
just try it out, the Northampton gym is a great place to try it out.
That's awesome.
Northampton. That's Team Link Northampton, correct?
Yeah.
That's a great
And for
plug.
those of you who don't know Northampton, it's in Massachusetts.
Yeah, so you're
In
gonna have
case
to
you don't
fly
know.
to Massachusetts to try your first. And we have people from Australia. That's gonna be a trip, but it will be worth it if you're a
Totally worth it.
female from anywhere in the world, because we have a global our listeners from all over, international listenership, if that could be a word. So everybody's gonna have to fly to New England and go to Team Link Northampton and then take a little detour to Team Link Webster and come to our gym.
Road trip.
And yeah, women welcome. Everybody welcome, of course. Everybody welcome.
Yeah.
That's a
So
great
anything
plug.
that you have, any type of any articles that you have, or anything you want us to put into the description on your episode, we can attach those links. So for our listeners and our viewers, check out the description, because we'll place some links in there to some wonderful work that Morgan has done.
So are you ready for my wrap up?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay, it's tap out time, your favorite part of the program, where I wrap and give our listeners some of the best golden nuggets from our conversation with Morgan. And I'm going to start with really more of a comment than a golden nugget. I am sorry that you went to a Krav Maga gym and they made those assumptions about you. And I would say that not every Krav Maga gym would be like that, but
No.
that one, unfortunately, that's terrible that you had that experience. But what did we learn? We learned that you, because you wanted to be a better storyteller, wanted that experience, and you had a bad experience, but you didn't quit. You did not quit. You're like, okay, that was a bad experience. I'm going to put that behind me. I'm going to move forward and try something else. And then you found your gym, right? Team Link Northampton, and you were welcomed in. So, lesson learned. If you want something, and you fall on your face, get up, and maybe it's the second time or the third time. So I like that you have that stick to itiveness, that tenacity is great. Another thing you talked about is for women, BJJ teaches you things that boys and men automatically learn in their upbringing. Hey, be assertive. That's your ball. Grab that ball. Push, wrestle. And a lot of times, obviously we're evolving as a culture and we're moving more towards girls can wrestle, boys can wrestle. Girls can dance, boys can dance, right? But still, BJJ is a great way to have that. Your beautiful quote. Where is your beautiful quote? Can you just say it again? The
The
controlled
physical freedom through controlled violence.
the physical freedom through controlled violence is just poetic and beautiful. And that's a skill that BJJ teaches that if you're a female, you can bring that really if you're anybody, but if you're a female, you can bring that into the courtroom. You can bring that into the boardroom. You can bring that into your leadership. So I think that's a wonderful thing. It's a great quote. And thank you for that. I thought that it was really cool the way you said another quote that I loved. BJJ allows you to practice the essence of who you are. It's a chance for you to be you, with you, for you, by you. And I think this is the reason a lot of people say BJJ is their therapy because it allows that. It's about you and you're in the moment. None of your worries are there. None of your ghosts from the past are there. You're there and you use this word like 4 times. You're having fun. And I love that you said that because we never really talk about that. But the fun component, BJJ is like being a kid and wrestling with your friends. It's just damn fun. Unless you get stuck under Big Juan. That's not fun because you can't breathe. I hope you're listening, Big Juan. Another serious thing that you brought up is the fact that many women in our society have been assaulted. It's a scary thing. And that BJJ is a way, if you can, get over or work through that trauma, BJJ is a way to do that. And also a way to make sure that you don't get assaulted and that you have an answer. When somebody big grabs you, you have an answer and you're confident in your answer. Another thing you talked about, which I think I'm a teacher also, and I love that you said this, BJJ makes you accept. It makes you accept that you're going to make a lot of mistakes and you're going to try things and fail and try and fail. And really, there's more losses than wins in BJJ. And as a result, you learn and you are willing to make mistakes. And that is what makes you great at writing. It's what makes you great at accounting. It's what makes you great at finance, at psychology, or whatever it is that you're practicing. So I think that was one of your most powerful connections there. And finally, I'm going to reiterate for any women, the plug in the Massachusetts, New England area, check out Team Link Northampton. 40% women on the mats. That's a great thing. That's a great thing. You get a nice mixture of everybody. And to all women out there, please consider drop by a gym, see if the culture's there. And if it is, just look how happy Morgan is that she took it. Look how much she's benefited from it. If you're watching this, you can see her face. It's just shining brightly with a resplendent smile. And that's something that BJJ brings out in a human being. So, women, girl power, let's go. Let's go.
Yes, thank you, Morgan. I think you said too, another word you used when you talked about jujitsu with us was function. You're a functional human being because of jujitsu. I really liked that too. So I think that's a great quote from you as well. So our call to action is really, I think this podcast is so inspiring. It's very inspiring for women, and my biggest call to action to this one for our listeners is if you are a middle-aged woman, it is not too late to start jujitsu. It will be transforming. It will change your life.
You're right on time.
Dead on, dead on. And you will be appreciated.
Yeah.
People will look at you and they'll be like, good for you. And they're going to want you to like it and they're going to want you to stay because you're going to add a lot to that gym, to that culture, to that community. So amen and hallelujah. So
Awesome.
Jason, I'm just gonna ask our listeners to please share this with people who you think could benefit. Please keep dropping your hearts and your comments and questions. We love our listeners. We appreciate our listeners, and we thank them for tuning in.
We expect everybody at Team Link Northampton to share this podcast. We're
Yes, because
expecting
it
it.
is amazing. Yes, support your peeps. Support your peeps for sure. And what a great representation of your gym you are, Morgan. Thank you so much for meeting with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
All
Morgan.
right. All right,
All right.
everybody.
Have a great
Have a
day.
great one. Happy Friday. Take care. Big
Bye,
hugs all
guys.
around. And by the way, Morgan, I love hugs. You said like most men, I give hugs all the time.
Yeah, I
And
was thinking the same thing when she said that, Frank. I was like, I like hugs. Wait.
Frank D'Amelio is the man who loves hugs. And the funny thing is, my supervisor at work does not like them. So he limits me to 2 a year. I get 2 a year. That's what I get. But
You better
I
make those
take them
two
and I
worth it.
use them.
Sounds like he should join jujitsu.
I'm trying to get him in. I'm
Then you
trying to
can
get
give him a
him in.
really long hug.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll
The
give him a
best
long hug.
hugs.
I'm gonna put him to sleep. Here you go. No, gentle and kind. Namaste.
Yes,
Gentle and
controlled
kind.
violence. Yeah.
Controlled violence. Exactly. Thanks for all those great quotes. Thanks for all those wonderful quotes.
That was fun. Yeah.
We had a
All
good
right.
time. All
Thank
right.
you,
Take
Morgan.
care, everybody.
All right. Have a great day, guys. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.